"Who is that person, Dad?" I inquired. "This is Dad's new wife, which means she's your new mom, Amy." My father greeted Linda with a smile as he put his arm around her shoulder. "It's good to meet you." That was his plan then. "I have a single mother." I firmly said, "I won't tolerate anyone else in that place." "So it implies you're going to be departing?" Dad smirked and went on, "Leave or live with your new mom." Unexpectedly, I said, "All right," to both Linda and Dad. It's unlikely that they anticipated this kind of reply. "I'll prepare for my departure." I told them, "You two can do as you please," and I returned to my room to pack. "I appreciate everything that you have done. Henceforth, we are strangers. I won't be informed of anything that occurs to you." Dad called me frantically a month later, saying, "Amy, help me." Is my father absent from my life? I pondered in my mind. I am Amy, a third-year middle school student of 15 years old. My parents loved and appreciated me since I was their only child. I believed that I was the happiest child alive, but when I was in 6th grade, I found out that wasn't the case. It must be Amy, am I correct? A flamboyant woman called out to me from the school gate one day while I was in 6th grade. I was unable to reply right away. Soon after starting primary school, a teacher taught me 5 important lessons. Don't go, don't ride, shout, run away, and tell an adult straight away. I immediately committed these to memory since these were the first self-defense techniques we were given. "Well, did I frighten you?" "It's okay. I'm your dad's friend." The flamboyantly dressed woman with dazzling blonde hair arranged in a bouffant, big sunglasses, and a smile on her face remarked. However, I was well aware that adults who assure you everything is fine frequently aren't. I'd seen that in dramas when kidnappers use that as justification for kidnapping kids. "Look, Amy, I can see it's you." The woman produced a similarly showy smartphone after rummaging inside her lavish, adorned bag. Her long, elaborately painted nails left me wondering how she lived with them. She showed me the screen, on which was a picture of me and my parents from when I had my first communion at a church. I was using the kid's phone, and there was the exact same picture set as wallpaper. How was life for this woman? Startled, I found it much harder to reply. "Do you wonder why I own this? It's not at all weird." With a happy chuckle, the woman returned the smartphone to her purse. "Linda is my name. Could you please ask Mom to give me Dad right away?" That's exactly what Linda, the woman, said, and was off and running. I was in the 6th grade and had a hazy understanding of what she was saying, but I had no idea what to do. I came home in a trance, and when I saw Mom's warm face, I made the decision to remain silent. In all honesty, I was at a loss for words. From that point on, I carried on with my life as usual on the outside since Dad never changed. He was always gorgeous, tall, family-oriented, caring, and hoping to be an actor. My dad was really proud of himself. However, there was a tiny, firm, weighty, and frigid knot in my heart. That lump was always there, no matter what I did. I entered middle school after graduating from elementary school without saying anything. My parents attended the entrance advice session as regular parents before I started my course, and we took a picture in front of the middle school's main gate. On either side of me were my parents, dressed in suits. All that was visible to anyone observing us was a typical, content family. That might not have been the case, though. I was contemplating these things when my father's words snapped me out of my daydream. He returned to show us the screen after thanking the photographer. I pondered whether Dad would also give that Linda-named woman this picture. "What's off?" Mom noticed my strange expression and inquired worriedly. "Nothing," I answered, glancing from my father to my mother. I was unable to tell my mother anything at all. As long as Mom is unaware of Dad's relationship with Linda, it doesn't matter if it is true. That's why I'm unable to speak. I have to act as though I know nothing. I considered what had transpired as I glanced at my mother. It's possible that Linda, the woman in question, simply developed a personal attachment to my cool dad and said those hurtful things as a result. It's possible that she happened to stumble into the picture and revealed it to me as a joke, or to make fun of me. I hadn't ruled out that scenario. Actually, I kind of hoped that was the case. I said nothing, and time went by. My mother fell ill not long after I started middle school. Her life will soon come to an end due to the seriousness of the diagnosis. That must be a lie, I inquired. Mom herself told me the truth. It's not a lie, no. She smiled and continued. Mom won't be able to remain with Amy for much longer. I want to tell you something because of this, Amy. What is it? I believe you'll face difficulties after I leave. I'll do everything in my power to ensure you can support yourself, Mom stated emphatically, so you can live on your own. This is code for not living with Dad or the two of us. Perhaps Mom is aware, I reasoned. Still, I was unable to inquire. Mom also appeared to assume that I knew, even though I kept it to myself. That was the sensation. I want you to think that I did it for you, even though there may be things you detest when that time comes. Yes, I do comprehend, I replied. Mom excitedly exclaimed, Thank you, and gave me a tight embrace. Mom stopped talking after that, and neither did I. We continued to live as if nothing had happened, just the three of us. The sole distinction was that Mom's condition deteriorated over time, requiring many hospital stays until she was unable to return. And that was all. Dad was there for Mom in the hospital whenever she became weaker. Dad would come over directly from work. He would return early from his home to take care of the house and cook. Dad will take care of the house, so Amy, please stay by Mom's side, he replied. He was a wonderful husband and father to everyone who happened to glance at him, but there was something fake about his words and facial emotions. I prepared soup. What is the flavor like? Yes, it tastes really good. Dad is a fantastic cook, always. Cooking from Mom is the best. Acting like a scripted husband and wife, he continued, Get well soon and cook us delicious meals again. I was with them too, feigning to be the daughter and grinning falsely at them. Why? I realized it was a ruse. Mom probably knew too. Mom and I went along with Dad's performance as he went on. It seemed like nothing was wrong and we were simply enjoying Mom's final days in peace. We were just playing with the family and passing the time. That was it. Mom passed away when I was in my 3rd year of middle school, maybe 2 years later. A parent losing their child is a deeply sad and terrible situation that only those who have gone through it can truly comprehend. Dad did a wonderful job portraying a husband who has lost his wife at the wake and funeral. Like me, he shed tears, but they seemed hollow in some way. While the audience wept for the father and daughter who had to leave, I was simply in awe of Dad's performance. I was left alone after the wake and the funeral. I made a vow to Mom, but everyone who came told me to stick by Dad. From now on, I have to work hard on my own. Dad rarely returned home, as was to be anticipated. I am old enough to be on my own. I'm alone for the majority of the day because Dad stated, Sorry, but I'm busy with work, and walked out of the house. Though, to be honest, it was difficult. I was ready. I had imagined that he might consider his daughter a little once Mom passed away. I truly needed someone to support me, but such kind of thinking is pointless. You are both an adult and a child at 15. As a result of growing accustomed to the lonely days, an incident happened the day following the month-long memorial ceremony. It was a Saturday. I was alone at home because it was a school holiday, but outside the noise level increased. Start by getting rid of everything that is superfluous. Thereafter, tidy up before relocating these belongings. Dad angrily gave the crowd instructions. What's happening? How are you using my mother's belongings? I was shocked to see that the visitors were beginning to remove Mom's possessions from the house. "No, don't take that away." I attempted to stop them by standing in the doorway. I made an effort to stop the individuals relocating Mom's belongings. They all appeared disturbed by my behavior, and they were most likely movers. I was aware that the movers were merely carrying out their duties, but who gave them this assignment? "Dad, why are you taking Mom's stuff away? I assume your mom is no longer with us. Thus, these things won't be used by anyone. I'm having them taken away because of this." I opened up again, making it impossible for anything to pass through the opening. "Nah, when you take them away, what are you going to do? What can be sold will be sold, and what can't be disposed of will go in the trash," Dad stated, seeming a little pleased with the way things were going. "Leave them in place. These were made by my grandparents for Mom's bridal trousseau." The trousseau that my mother's parents had planned was really valuable, and they were wealthy. That trousseau was what the movers were currently attempting to remove. My statements seemed to bother the movers as they exchanged glances. When my mother was young, my grandmother fashioned this trousseau for her marriage. They hold great significance. A voice said, "Wow, that's some amazing stuff," coming from behind me. Linda was there. She pushed through me and peered at my mother's trousseau. "I'm not too familiar with it, but is this considered an antique? Please return it. I'll use it." "Hey, put it back." The movers refused to stop, even though I begged them to. But Dad got my mom's stuff back when Linda complained. "Dad, who is that person?" Upon my request for verification, Dad pleasantly put his arm around Linda's shoulder and declared, "This person is my new wife, meaning your new mom, Amy." "It's nice to meet you," remarked Linda. That was his purpose then. "I have a single mother. Such a person is not acceptable to me." "That implies you're going to be departing, Amy." Dad smirked and said, "You remain a child at heart. You can't survive on your own if you don't pay attention to Dad, can you? This is my mother's and my home. Get rid of that woman. Telling me to go is really cruel." Linda did nothing except observe. "I don't want this woman inside my house. Observe what she's expressing. What are we going to do, my love?" Linda rested on her father, who appeared content. Dad replied something unbelievable. "Well, if you really hate it that much, you have to leave. Acquire a new mother. Go if you detest it." My casual remark, "All right," astonished Linda and Dad. I doubt they ever anticipated this kind of response. "After that, I'll prepare to go. You two go about your business." I told Linda and the shocked Dad this, then went back to my room to pack. Even though I said pack, not much of anything significant remained in this room. The majority of my possessions had previously been relocated to a certain location. Dad seemed to be unaware of it because he never went into my room. I hastily gathered my everyday essentials and school materials. "I appreciate everything that you have done. We are strangers from now on. I'll be kept in the dark about your fate." I turned my back on Linda and Dad and left the home. I got into the cab that I had called and gave the driver my destination. "Goodbye, Dad." It worked out exactly as Mom had predicted. I whispered to myself in the back seat of the vehicle. My grandparents' house was a big suburban home when I got there. "Amy, you did well," my tearful grandparents said as they held me in. I sobbed as I held my grandmother, finally feeling relieved, to consider that this was the final outcome. My grandparents expressed their regret, saying, "We were duped the entire time. He was pretending to be the nice husband and father." However, I didn't mind because I already knew. Mom was aware. She gave me everything she could because of this. Mom was aware of Dad's affair, and she might have even been aware that Linda had made contact with me. My mother never mentioned anything to me. If she hadn't become ill, I wonder if she would have kept up the facade of a happy married couple with Dad. However, Mom must have made her decision after learning about her illness, considering what would happen to me after she passed away. She promised to exert all of her effort. Household duties were one of those things. Mom and I had been cooking together since I was in elementary school, and I had been assisting her ever since. I was able to prepare most of Mom's foods after learning her recipes. Mom taught me everything she could in the final year before she died. I therefore didn't have any difficulties with that part, even when I was living alone and Dad wasn't home. I could clean and wash laundry. In that house, after Mom died and Dad never came back, I took care of myself. I owe it all to the lessons I learned from my mother. Another thing Mom did, the consequences of which were later realized. Dad called all the time a month after I moved out of the house where I grew up. Though I knew he would, I chose to ignore it. If it ended with a single phone call, it wouldn't be enjoyable. I turned off my phone, locked it in my room, left for school, and didn't pick it up right away when I got back. I didn't pick it up until after I had taken a bath and it was time to go to bed. There could have been up to 300 missed calls when I looked through the call record. My phone was ringing in front of me. It was silent, but the screen illuminated to let me know. Perhaps it's time for me to finally answer the phone silently. Hello? Why didn't you respond earlier, Amy? How many times have I called, do you think you know? I immediately received a yell. How rude. I remained silent. Greetings? Amy? How come you're not answering? I said nothing. It's Dad, Amy. Have you remembered to listen to my voice? I wish I could forget, but unfortunately I remember. I sighed. Amy, help me. I don't have a father, do I? Dad paused for a while and then continued. This is me, your dad. I'm in serious trouble. Are you unable to assist? Amy wouldn't be the type of daughter to desert her parents, is she? His alluring tone made me uncomfortable. As I already stated, I am fatherless. The number you have must be incorrect. Kindly have a look at it. I hung up and switched off my phone. That way, I wouldn't have to listen to the man who used to be my father's voice ever again. I'm going to stop using this phone soon. Maybe because I stopped responding, Dad and Linda arrived at my grandparents' house the following day. Let me check on Amy. She must have been impacted by you. Send her back immediately. That's correct, Amy. Please come back home. Me, a young, attractive mother, comes to get you up. I'll forgive you right now. Return to that residence, and then you are free to leave. Linda and Dad were expelled for visiting my grandparents' home. As I am the owner of that house, Mom gave me ownership of the house and other possessions before she passed away. My mom received the house as a present from her grandparents upon her marriage. Knowing that she was sick, Mom took swift action. She gave me ownership of the house. She paid the inheritance tax correctly, of course, but she kept Dad in the dark. Dad must have worried because he believed he had ownership rights to the house and that Mom's estate belonged to him. I requested that my guardian, a lawyer, give Dad a notice of eviction. That's when he realized the truth and contacted me in a panic. He was given a notice to leave within a month or face legal action from me. It was written understandably. Simultaneously, I instructed the attorney to document that every piece of furniture in the house was mine, and if anything was destroyed, I would demand payment. Before I left, I had taken pictures of every household object. I recall the movers being really brutal with everything. Linda might have done some harm as well. Repairing such exquisite, one-of-a-kind furniture crafted by artisans would be quite expensive. I hope there isn't any harm. Dad sent me a counter notice a few days after my original notification was sent. It included Mom's will, which specified that Dad would inherit the entirety of her estate. It looked like something Mom had written before. It required that my grandparents immediately transfer all of Mom's estate to Dad under the terms of the will. It demanded my immediate return and accused my grandparents of betraying their priceless granddaughter and ruining the father-daughter bond. We also sent out a notification in response. Unfortunately for him, there is a newer will, thus Mom's is void. The date of the will's creation determines its priority, since Dad's was created not long after Mom's diagnosis. On the other hand, one was dated the day before her death. When the time came, Mom filled in the dates on her pre-prepared will and gave it to the attorney. This is the most recent will that possibly exists. I could feel Mom's resolve to leave Dad nothing in her shaky handwriting. According to her will, I was to inherit the whole of her estate. Dad would not have custody of me since my grandfather would adopt me. My lawyer, who is also my guardian, was given complete authority over all operations. Mom made it clear that she didn't want to give Dad any money at all, even though the majority of her wealth was already in my name. A lawyer Dad had hired got in touch with us a few days after we sent out the second notice. My father wanted to visit me. Amy, according to your father, there is a misunderstanding. He doesn't understand this treatment or why you left so abruptly. What took place? Dad had told the lawyer that Linda didn't exist, and that I had quietly moved to my grandparents' house and stopped being approachable. In addition, he said that when he went to my grandparents' place, they reported him to the police because they wouldn't let him see me. He was so frightened about me that he thought I may be taken prisoner by them. My daughter is still considered a minor, he argued. He stated he was shocked that I would consent to being adopted by my grandfather without getting his permission. Perhaps her grandparents had deceived me, and I believed their lies, he maintained. She is the only priceless daughter my wife left behind. I implore you, please, to assist me in getting my daughter back. The attorney claimed it was difficult to witness Dad talk soberly about me. Your father remarked that since you lost your mother, you must be bewildered. He was unable to support you since he too lost the love of his life. The attorney clarified. He believes it could be the reason you've been acting this way since your mom passed away. But why is he so theatrical? I pondered out loud. Perhaps it's because his dream was to become an actor once. I recall something. Holding her hand, Dad said yes when Mom asked him to take care of me on her deathbed. This scene brought even my skeptical grandparents to tears. It felt like something from a theater. I observed icily as Dad grasped Mom's hand. There was no affectionate warmth to me. He continues to act until the end, doesn't he? I stated. I then gave the attorney a recording to listen to. It started on the day the movers moved into the house and continued until Dad and Linda visited my grandparents. The tape exposed Dad's actual personality. The attorney's face shifted when he heard it. When it came time to bring Linda into the house after Mom died away, Dad suddenly revealed his true colors. He had been acting as though he cared about me and Mom the entire time. At last, I held the proof in my possession. Well, it appears that this is a different tale. I apologize, the attorney replied, turning to go. He then told me that he'd turned down Dad's request and that he owed him money for lying to him under pretenses. I suppose after this, no one will be willing to represent your father, he continued. Yes, nobody would support Dad if he told the truth. Why did Dad continue this act? And why did Mom accept it? I pondered. There was a rationale. Mom's first love was Dad. She saw a performance and fell in love with Dad when she was a middle school student, the same age as me. Dad wanted to be an actor and was involved in a small theatrical group at the time. They started dating once Mom began to support him. Considering that Dad was an unsuccessful actor and 8 years older than my grandparents, they were against the relationship. But they reluctantly agreed to the marriage on the condition that they adopt Mom's last name, not long after Mom got her college degree and got pregnant. Mom was the lone child of the head of a large corporation. After getting married, Dad gave up performing to work for one of my grandpa's companies. My grandfather had been monitoring Dad ever since. I never did trust him very much. Yes, we always sensed something was wrong with him, but when I saw him in the ICU, I believed he genuinely cared about your mom and you, my grandmother remarked. While he may not have been a great actor, Dad was excellent at tricking us. Had I not met Linda, I too would still think he was a great father. He's an extremely talented actor. But then, how did Mom realize? I pondered. I was shown a letter from Mom by my grandmother. The letter was left to the attorney to be delivered to my grandparents following her passing. To my most beloved parents, it indicates that I am no longer with you if you are reading this letter. I want to start by sincerely thanking you for everything that you have done for Amy and me. I will always be appreciative of you because you have always supported us. I want you to know that your suspicions about my husband were founded. I know you have always had reservations. When my sickness was diagnosed, I came to understand the reality about him. Although it was a terrible epiphany, it provided me with the insight I needed to decide what was best for Amy's future. Since I knew I was running out of time, I took every precaution to keep Amy safe. I gave her full ownership of the house and other properties, guaranteed her financial security, and left the legal work to our lawyer. I wanted to make sure she wouldn't come into any harm or dishonesty. Please look after Amy. She is a bright and strong kid, but she will require your help and support. As you have always been for me, I know you will be there for her. From the bottom of my heart, your daughter. I experienced a range of feelings when I read the letter. Even in her last days, Mom had taken precautions to keep me safe because she knew the truth. I came to understand her love for me and the extent of her sacrifices made on my behalf. I knew that with my grandparents by my side, I could overcome any obstacles that were ahead. Mom loved Dad so much at first, but she started to suspect his conduct after they were married and she got pregnant, thinking it was fake. Maybe it was just her gut feeling. But after doing some research, she found that Dad had other ladies financially supporting him since he was attractive. Mom attempted to persuade herself that she was unique to him despite this. Eventually, though, she heard someone say, "I stole the president's daughter. One day, I will be president of my own country. Even if I don't love her, I'll take care of her because she's affluent." Even as a mere fan, Mom was always seen by Dad as a money source. She was astonished to learn this, but she believed that after the kid was born, they would be a happy family. Dad fooled everyone around him by seeming to be the ideal father once I was born. Still, Mom couldn't shake her suspicions and kept looking into him. Linda then came into the picture. She became Dad's mistress in an attempt to unseat Mom since she worked at the nightclub he frequently visited and thought he was the heir to a big corporation. Linda was unaware that Dad was actually simply Mom's husband and not my grandfather's son. Mom, who had the option to file for divorce, had left the house when Dad and Linda eventually moved out, although the affair was made public. They appeared to have given up and to have nothing more to lose. But I could take them to court. I ensured they were aware of it. Linda had attempted, in what amounted to willful obstruction of custody, to coerce Mom into leaving when we were tiny by disclosing her presence. Damages can be demanded from a mistress who attempts to remove a parent from a minor child. Although Linda refuted her conduct, the incident was caught on camera by a detective I hired. Linda pleaded with me to stop suing, but I wouldn't back down. Linda's antics became well known as a result of the lawsuit, and she was fired from the club where she had caused numerous issues. Linda was asked to resign because the club, an upscale establishment that prioritizes its reputation, could not afford to hire someone of her caliber. Linda made a slander lawsuit threat against me, but I advised her to move forward. I don't think getting sued would concern me in the slightest. Linda would probably find it more problematic. She ultimately decided not to sue and left the club. She probably won't be able to work in such upscale establishments in the future. I will not get much money even if I win my lawsuit, which is still pending, but that is not the point. I plan to fight until the very end, and I will not allow them to get away. Dad was no longer able to remain at his business. He first gained access thanks to my grandpa's connections, and since he was anticipated to succeed his father in the end as the son-in-law, no one could ever criticize him for anything he did. But this incident, getting ejected from the house by his own daughter, and having his long-term romance with Linda exposed, made his true character clear to all. As it happens, he wasn't all that skilled at his profession in the first place. He was a clever individual, but he was just good at acting, even though he could always put on a competent front. But the truth was that he was useless, and everyone eventually discovered this. Strangely, Dad didn't become a successful actor given his skill at acting. More than simply talent is needed in the entertainment world. Maybe true stars have something that Dad didn't have, an aura. Anyway, everyone around him let out all their long-stowed complaints as they saw his actual personality. He was shunned not only by his peers, but also by his clientele, who now treated him with contempt. His former admirers, the female staff, now regarded him with disdain. After attempting to maintain a low profile for a while, he left the company because the circumstances were too intolerable. He and Linda are said to be living in a little flat right now. He's phoned me a few times in the past, but now that we are strangers, I despise them. I'm not obligated to assist him. Mom's bridal tiara was damaged by Linda, as was to be expected, and when I sought payment, they complied, presumably believing they couldn't afford to file a case again. They may have spent savings or Dad's severance pay. They may even owe money. But that's not my problem. As I already stated, it's up to them both going forward. I am now legally my grandfather's adopted child, even though this only affects our legal relationship and not my name or anything else. I'll be studying overseas after high school, getting ready to carry on my grandfather's tradition. I still cry when I think of Mom, but I can't grieve indefinitely. Losing Mom was a sad and lonely experience. Mom must have known that the day would come when I would need to study multiple languages to ensure that I wouldn't have any trouble with them. She truly instilled in me the ability to live independently wherever I go. This is something I really feel. To live up to Mom's expectations, I'm just now beginning to move towards a bright future for myself. I'm hoping to experience a variety of things overseas and meet someone who truly loves me. Mom was a cautionary tale in this regard. As she said this, it seemed like the mother in the picture was grinning shyly.